So what we're going to talk about tonight is the role of USANA products in our modern world. And I put this picture up of me because USANA, the products, have totally changed my life. And I just can't believe what they've been able to do for me. Many people say, well, why do we need any supplements at all? And just to recap very briefly, we live in a very toxic world, much more toxic than it used to be. The modern diet with processing of food and food choices means that we're not getting what we need. And added on top of that is all the stress that people now live under. And the result of all that is that we're getting a lot more diseases that we call chronic diseases. They're not just acute things that go away. They're there all the time. And they're much more frequent. They're rising. And I'm talking about things like heart disease and stroke, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, lots of psychological problems in both children and in adults. And we're seeing a huge number of people that come under the following category, which is chronic tiredness states. Asthma, eczema, the list goes on and on. Now, it's not just me saying this. Even the United Nations, they did a summit, an Earth Summit, and back in 1992, they look at what happened to food over a 50-year period. And as you can see, all the common vegetables have lost very big amounts of the nutritional value that they used to have. And they looked at potassium, magnesium, copper, vitamin C, vitamin A, and so on. They did over 300 foods. I've just put a few of them. And then lower mineral content in vegetables. And this was done in the States. And if you look, it started off in 1914 with quite high levels of minerals, and it's really fallen dramatically. And in 1997, the levels are really very, very low. Now, even the medical profession are now saying that we do need supplements because of the food and the choices we make. And there was an article in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2002 saying that all adults should, to prevent chronic disease, should be taking supplements. So lots of evidence. And I think we can assume that we all require some supplements. But then the next question is, if we need supplements, why would we take USANA supplements over the other ones? Now, there's a very interesting book called The Comparative Guide to Nutritional Supplements. And this was a study instigated initially by the Canadian government. And it became a very big topic that ended up with a company being formed to look at supplements. And this book is now constantly re-edited and released in different countries. We have one here in Australia and New Zealand that is made with our supplements in mind. And it's being updated all the time. Now, when they wrote this book, they looked at all these different factors. So it isn't just a list of what is the best. It's looking at many different factors that come into health. If you just glance down that list, you'll see it's really very comprehensive. And my recommendation is if you haven't read that book, I really do suggest you get a copy and you read it because it's a very, very worthwhile publication and you'll learn such a lot. I've summarized some of the common supplements that we have here in New Zealand from that book and put them into this table. And as you can see, USANA Health Sciences make a supplement that ranks number 1. There are a few other really good makes like Thorne, Solgar, New Skin. Clinicians is there as well. Herbalife comes in about the same place as NFS. And GNC is another one that's come in from America. But if you look at that graph, you'll see I put a line across. That's a line of 50%. A supplement that contains 100% of what should be there would come right to the top of that page. But just look at the supplements most people are taking. They're those ones on the right-hand side, and they're all registering at under 20%. And they're the common ones. And if you wonder why you've taken supplements in the past and they didn't seem to work, maybe this is why. they weren't actually working. And these supplements rated on the lower part of that chart, most of them are manufactured to provide the RDA, the recommended daily allowance. Now, that is just enough to prevent scurvy, other deficiency diseases. It isn't enough to deal with the modern world. Now, when we look at what we're doing in modern medicine today, we tend to be treating symptoms of disease. And we have less effect with our drugs on long-term outcome. And I just want to point out that drugs alter the processes going on inside the cell. Wanted, unwanted effects. Now, the unwanted effects we call side effects. So you give a drug to human beings, and it has an effect which actually changes something inside the cell. And that's what we want. But unfortunately, because the cell is so complicated and all these interactions are going on, it actually it's farther afield, quite different from the effects. But we know that is a price we have to pay with our modern drugs. Now, when we're using a supplement, we're working rather differently. What we're doing with a supplement is we're enabling the cells of our body to work as they were meant to do. Now, obviously, this subject is the topic for a whole nother talk. What we're talking about today is products. So I just wanted to pop that in as a little recap. Now, because supplements help the cells work better, they have an effect across many different body systems. So taking just a few supplements can make a lot of difference to lots of different conditions. And that's very different from the drugs we use, because we use drugs that are specific to each system. We have something wrong with our heart, we use certain drugs. We have arthritis, we use other drugs. But when we work with supplements, the same supplements will often affect a number of different organs in a positive sort of way. So all that means that when we supplement correctly for the body, we can improve our overall health, all our body systems. We can make a difference to the energy within the body. We can affect our mental well-being and our general well-being. And that, of course, means that we can enjoy life much better and hopefully well into old age. And many people are really worried about the level of medications they're taking, the drugs that they're taking. And often we are able to gradually reduce the number of medications as the whole body improves. So I point out to people that you need to look for more energy in your life so that you can actually make positive changes in other areas of your life. If you're really tired, you're not going to be able to do much exercise, and you won't be able to plan your eating so well. And of course, you can go on and plan for a life that's less stressful than the one you're living at the moment. Because what we want is we want that vibrance. Now, I'm asked a lot of questions as a doctor. And so I thought I'd just put a few of these questions up here so that you can have a look at them. People say, well, why are USANA products different from other ones? Well, the contents within their supplements are based on science, well researched. And they create a supplement that's perfect, that's comprehensive, it covers a huge range, and it's a balanced supplement that can be used on a daily basis. And that work has come from 30 years of cell culture, raising human cells in bottles and labs to find out what they need. Also, USANA products are designed to go together. So in other words, we have a complete range that go together and we don't overdose. They're also absorbable into the body. When you swallow them, they very quickly break up in your stomach, they disperse, they're absorbed into the cells, and very, very quickly they have their effect in the body. Not all supplements have that ability. They're also designed so that there's never a build-up in the body, so they avoid things that are dangerous for the body. When they make a supplement, it's made to very high quality. Everything that comes into the facility is checked and analysed for purity. And even the final products, when they've been made, they are analysed to make sure that they meet all the very specific and high standards that USANA demands. And USANA supplements, of course, are made to the same standard that drugs are made to. That's not the required standard, which is a food standard, but pharmaceutical standard is what is required for pharmaceutical drugs. And USANA uses something called the Good Manufacturing Practices. Now, that's a standard that's very, very complicated and hard to adhere to, but USANA voluntarily is able to do it. Now, is it possible to overdose on my supplements? People say this all the time. And yes, of course you can. Too much of anything can be bad. And if you select your needs from the supermarket, like I used to do many years ago, overdose really is quite possible. And it's also important to realize that adults need different amounts from children. So that has to be taken into consideration as well. Some supplements build up in the body and they can do harm. With USANA, none of that is possible. USANA is designed so that you cannot overdose or take anything that is toxic for the body. Now, that's very important, and we'll talk more about that, especially, for instance, when we talk about fish oils. And USANA has designed its product so that there is a base, a solid base of science that goes into the manufacture of what is absolutely essential for people. And USANA calls their flagship product, that base product we all need, the essentials. And then depending on our needs, we can add things on top of that. Another question I get is, well, I'm on a lot of medication. Are these supplements safe given with medication? Now, there's a simple answer, and I recommend everybody who's listening does this. Check with your doctor. You are not a doctor, and that is the safe answer. However, because USANA products are providing what should be in our food if our food was perfect, basically it's equivalent to high-quality food, and so it usually is safe. However, always suggest that people discuss it with their doctor. And sometimes you find, because doctors haven't got very much training in supplementation, they may be negative. And if that is the case, get a second opinion from a doctor who understands good nutrition. And people can also read and research on the internet. These days, many people are knowing more about their conditions even than their doctors do because they research so much. There's a good website. My husband's a cardiologist and general physician, and his website is used around the world, and you can look up lots of conditions there. If you haven't looked at that before, do so. www.drgeraldlewis.co.nz. It's interesting, I haven't heard this question so much recently. Isn't USANA expensive? Because USANA products are much cheaper than they used to be. As USANA does better, it brings down its prices. And I believe USANA is not expensive. But when people say that, I ask the question, expensive compared to what? Because, you know, in New Zealand, we've grown up with free healthcare and we expect health as our right. And many people haven't realised that actually we have to go out of our way to be healthy. But you need to look another way as well. Compare the ingredients. Now, this is a graph that shows what USANA contains. It contains a lot of things, 100% of what the body actually needs. You notice there's a few gaps in there of things we shouldn't have in a supplement. Now, that is a good supplement. But you compare that with this supplement. Now, this is the commonest and most highly bought supplement in New Zealand. It's advertised as being complete. What on earth do they mean by complete? There is not a single bar that comes to the top of that chart. There are many things that are present in very small amounts and lots of things that are missing. And the question is, how many of those on the left would you need to take to be equivalent to the one on the right? Now, that makes the one on the left very expensive. But of course, you're going to overdose on some things while you try and push that level up. So USANA, the products that they make contain everything the body requires. They have supplements for all the different age groups. They're made to that top standard, the voluntary standard USANA adheres to, the pharmaceutical standard. They will guarantee the purity of the product, and they will guarantee that when you swallow those supplements, they will be absorbed into your body, into your circulation, so that they can start to make a difference in your health. And what we're going to talk about tonight is the essentials, on the left for adults, on the right for children. We'll talk about that optimized range of meal replacements, shakes, bars, and things for the gut. And the last range is the range for the skin. So the foundation, as I said before, is a multi. Everybody needs a multi, vitamins and minerals and omega fish oils for everybody. And then we'll look at the optimizers, the macro optimizers, which are foods, the skincare, and I'm going to touch on the energy drinks that USANA make, which are actually healthy ones. So let's look a little bit more. Different ranges. So let's go on. The essentials. The essentials are what they say. They are a daily requirement. It's a bit like your pantry at home. And your pantry at home enables you to make lots of different things on different days. You don't want to eat the same thing every day. And the essentials are like that for the body. They provide everything the body needs. And some days you're more active, some days you're sitting at the computer. Our daily requirement varies. And what USANA has done is put minerals and vitamins and antioxidants together in a way that the body can excrete what it doesn't need on any daily basis, but everything is there that the body could possibly want. And this helps the body work, both antioxidants and minerals. And the minerals are really important when it comes to rebuilding the cells of our body. The vitamins and minerals, the vitamins and the antioxidants offer protection and also help with the function of the body. You should take supplements twice a day. When we do that, we cover the exposure during the day to all the toxic things in our world. At nighttime, of course, while we're sleeping, that's when the body regenerates. Women understand this because we know we put our night cream on to regenerate our skin during the night. Same principle with the cells. So let's just look at the antioxidants in the essentials. A whole lot of them, and they're in the best form, and they've got really good levels, the maximum amount of things like vitamin D that they're allowed to put into a multi, and there are so many papers coming out on vitamin D. But in addition to vitamin D, it's got the A, the B range, the C, the E, the K, the folate, and then all these other things, the extract from the olive, from the grape, broccoli extracts, inositol, turmeric, bromelain, coenzyme Q10, lycopene. It's all there in our essential antioxidants. Minerals and trace elements are a little bit different. You know, they are so important, but they actually make up less than 0.5% of all the total nutrients that the body needs. But they are vital. We actually cannot function without minerals, and you can run your eye down that list there. And you notice things like zinc, how many functions zinc is needed for in the body. Really important for the development of the baby. The mother must be taking that. Selenium. We need minute amounts of selenium, and yet it helps us to not age so quickly. And if we don't have selenium, we get more trouble like heart problems and cancer. And it's been well shown and documented that prostate health and the immune system needs selenium. So does the health of our eyes. Many people don't know that it actually enhances our mood. Chromium is a very interesting one. See the bottom one on the list there, because it helps regulate blood sugar. And when they started giving people in hospital who were very, very sick intravenous feeding, those people nearly all got diabetes. And they couldn't understand why. And they evaluated how they were getting all this feeding, but they got diabetes. And then they discovered that chromium is really important to regulate blood sugar. And there was no chromium in those intravenous solutions in the early days. So some of those minerals we need a little more of, and trace minerals, and I've listed a few of them there, we need very, very low amounts, but they're important. Now, just a few hints about taking the essentials. It is important to take twice a day. Your day will go much better. Ideally, take them with food. Many people have a little bit of trouble with their gut. It's not working quite as well as it should. If you take them with food, they won't cause any problem. When some people start taking the essentials, they can feel a little unwell. That's because the body is releasing toxins. And our cells, which have been sick and starved, they start to cleanse and they start to throw out all sorts of toxins, and that circulates in the blood. The liver has to work harder. So some people can get a little bit of a headache and just not feel too good for a couple of days. And if it's really bad, you can reduce the dose of the essentials for a couple of days and build up more slowly. But generally, all you need to do is drink plenty of water, good quality water. And you can take Fiber G, and you can even take something like Hepa Plus, which helps with the liver. And that will help that whole process of detoxification. After a few days, once the body has done that bit of cleansing for you, you're going to feel really, really great. And that's, many people will contest to that. Now, USANA also makes a supplement for children, because you can't ignore children these days because their health really is in danger. And they make something called USANimals, and that's a chewable, naturally flavored tablet for children from about 1 up to about 10 years of age. Now, they're growing fast. A lot of the body tissues are developing, and their need is different from a teenager's. Now, teenagers, suddenly the long bones are really growing, and hormones, of course, come in to teenage growth. And many teenagers change to become quite morose and tired and grumpy, and they get spots and hormonal problems of all sorts. And Body Rocks is designed to really help teenagers over those really very difficult years. Important that we use the right supplement at the moment. And there's a picture of the USANimals at the top and Body Rocks for teenagers at the bottom. Now, that's the essential range. Now let's go on to look at the things that people can add on. We call them optimizers. They will optimize your health. This is a range that I've pictured here, and we're going to go through those fairly quickly so you get a general idea. One of the most important are the omega-3 oils. They're really vital for health. And USANA makes one for adults, pictured at the top. It's called Biomega. And then there's Biomega Junior, which is made for children. And omega-3 oils are vital for every single cell in the body, because every cell has that little membrane around it that allows nutrients into the cell and waste matter to come out. And so people say often, well, I take a fish oil, but I'm not sure that it does anything. Well, fish oils really do. They're needed by every single system in the body. And I often say to people, just be careful, because you can buy huge, big bottles of very cheap fish oil, and that is really very toxic because fish today contains a lot of mercury. Now, when you want an omega-3 oil, you want one which is mercury-free, because mercury damages the brain. They believe mercury is one of the causes of autism in children. And a lot of that is from fish that pregnant women have, because the baby concentrates that mercury that the mother ingests. And that's why the medical profession are saying to pregnant women, you shouldn't have fish more than about once a month while you're pregnant. So why on earth would you encourage a woman to have a fish oil capsule which is full of mercury? So it's really important. And what USANA does is they take the mercury out of the fish oil without heating it, and a very complicated and very expensive process. And I say to people when they say to me, well, do I really need fish oil? I say, well, only if you care about your brain, your joints, your tendons. What about your heart? Do you want to safeguard your heart so that if you do have a heart attack, you don't die? What about maintaining your hormones to function correctly? And do you want to keep your libido up right through your life? What about your mood? What about your brain? Do you want to cope better with stress? If you do, you need fish oils. Fish oils also help the skin. They maintain the elastin and the collagen of the skin so that the skin doesn't get droopy and saggy. And you can always tell older people who are taking fish oils because they have a younger looking skin. And that's really important for both men and women. What we're really saying, of course, is if you want to be as perfect as you can possibly be, then make sure you're taking adequate amount of pure fish oils. We all need fish oils, and it's really great that we've got them for adults and for children. My grandchildren actually grew up on the fish oil capsule for adults, and they love popping it because one thing that USANA has done is it's managed to take all that fishy taste out of the fish oil. So a lot of people don't like it when they sort of burp and it's fishy. USANA's fish oil capsules are flavored with lemon oil, and they're really nice. I'm still a kid, I still enjoy popping my Biomega when I pop them in the mouth. I want to talk next about HEPA Plus. HEPA Plus is something that helps with our detox. Now, our liver is in our tummies, of course, and it's the second largest organ in our bodies, and it's absolutely vital for life. If you look at the word liver and you take the R off the end, you see that word live. We only live if our liver is working well. And it does lots of things for us, and we're not going to go into them tonight, but it filters many of the toxins out of the blood so they can be removed into the bloodstream. It changes things so that they can be used, and a lot of drugs are changed into a usable form by the liver. It manufactures all sorts of things that the cell needs. It also acts as a storage system for vitamins and minerals and other things. And because of the world we live in, the liver is now overworked. Now, HEPA Plus is a combination of milk thistle, alpha-lipoic acid, and turmeric, which actually helps the liver in its many complicated phases to work more correctly. The alpha-lipoic acid is there because it recycles some of the more expensive ingredients in HEPA Plus. And that tablet is made as a two-layer tablet, and it's very stable. And USANA has perfected the technology for that hybrid system, and it's patented it. They're way ahead of the field with that. Now I want to talk about two products that are some of my absolutely favorite products, Active Calcium Plus and the Active Calcium Chewable. Now, I don't really like the name Active Calcium Plus because it doesn't really tell you what is in those tablets. And I would prefer it to be called Magical Plus because of the ingredients. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But what does this product do? These two products. One is a chewable form, that's the bigger bottle, and the other one is a straight swallow tablet. It helps to maintain the strength of our bones. And our bones start to get weaker right from our teenage years, we've discovered. It also helps the nerves and our hormones, our enzymes, and our digestive system to function correctly. Really important to help our muscles relax. And also in the body, it helps to maintain the correct acid-alkaline balance. And that's so important because when our body is too acid, we get a lot more inflammation. Now, that's a whole lot of stuff. What does that mean for you and me? And what does it mean for us living in the modern world? Well, let's just have a look at that down a little bit more. Now, calcium. 99% of the body's calcium is stored in the bones. Many diets are deficient in calcium because milk doesn't provide nearly as good a source of calcium as dark leafy greens like your broccoli and your spinach. Now, if there's not enough calcium in the diet, no problem. We've got a store, it's in the bones. And because calcium is needed by lots of different parts of the body, if we're deficient, we can take it away from the bones so that the cells can use it. And that's what is causing so much osteoporosis, which we often see as people are getting a little bit older and they do a little trip and they break a bone. Our bones tend to be stronger when we're younger. Now, magnesium is a little bit different. Most of the magnesium is in our muscles and in our nerves. There's not a good store like our bones for magnesium. Our soil is so deficient that many people's bodies crave. And when we crave, it's like the body is saying, I need some magnesium. And of course, chocolate is the most magnesium-rich food for many people, and that's why people can't understand why it is they crave chocolate. But actually, I use magnesium in anybody who has a craving. It doesn't matter whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, food, all sorts of things. Magnesium calms the body down because the muscles and the nerves need it. So when we're lacking in magnesium, we see less relaxation of the body generally, particularly of the muscles and nerves. And when you think of what those things are needed in, you get an idea how important magnesium is worldwide in the body. We need magnesium to help control our blood pressure, because otherwise there is tension in the muscle and our blood vessels, and that's why we call it hypertension. Palpitations comes from lack of magnesium. Cramp, and you see lots of athletes suffering from cramp at the end of their game when they've run out of the magnesium in their bodies. Migraine, spasm in the arteries in the head. Asthma, spasm in the muscles that are our breathing tubes. Tight muscles generally in the body. Joint pains. You can see how widespread are the results of magnesium lack. And then we go on to the nerves. If we haven't got enough magnesium, we're uptight and we get a bit excitable and a bit jumpy. And if you want to see a good example of that, look at teenagers, because nearly all teenagers are really under a lot of nervous tension. And if you go into any cafe and you see they're fiddling and their legs are jumping. Pregnant and menopausal women need a lot more. People who are high energy users, like athletes and manual workers, they need even more too. So magnesium is really important. And it's the sort of thing we can take more or less of. Now, another part of the plus in Active Calcium Plus is vitamin D. And USANA puts vitamin D everywhere. It's in the essentials. It's in the fish oil, the Biomega, and it's also here in the calcium and magnesium, because it's just so important for the body, and USANA is not allowed to use enough in one place. So it puts it in a lot of places so that we get what we need. Now, that's very good science. And vitamin D, we now know, is really important for our bones. It's protective of cancer. And it's only in the last few years that we've started to appreciate how important it's actually a natural hormone, vitamin D. And it's become even more important as we are avoiding the sun. People are getting worried about skin cancers, and we're putting hats on ourselves and our children, and some of our children are not allowed to go to school in the summer with short sleeves, all to protect them from the sun. And when we do that, we actually lower the amount of vitamin D in our bodies. It's a very big effect, because every cell has a vitamin D receptor. And there are so many trials that show that we can actually reduce death from many causes if we keep our vitamin D up. And you just look at that list of things that come from low vitamin D: cancer, high blood pressure, heart disease, autism, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, inflammatory bowel disease, osteoporosis, asthma, depression, Alzheimer's, infertility, infections, and the list goes on and on. And so USANA have put some in all those places, and they also have an extra bottle of vitamin D on its own. And many of us take a number of those. I personally take 5 or 6 vitamin D tablets in addition to all the other vitamin D I'm having. You can have a test to ensure your level is ideal. It's quite expensive, and vitamin D, it's very difficult to overdose. Now let's go on. Proflavanol C100. A lot of people, when they're sick in hospital, we take them grapes. We take them grapes because there's something in grapes that is healing. And this tablet is made from the extract of the grape seed. It's really powerful, natural, antioxidant, and USANA combines that grape seed extract with vitamin C. And it mimics that Mediterranean type of diet. We know that that's a very important type of diet where they drink lots of red wine and grapes and those sort of things. And Proflavanol contains bioflavonoids, which help to protect against this really difficult environment that we live in, and helps to protect the body from the free radicals that come from a lot of things outside our body, come from stress, from the sun, all sorts of things. And free radicals damage our cells. And the idea of this Proflavanol C100 is we mop up all those extra free radicals before they have time to damage the individual cells. Now, we now know that heart disease, for instance, is due to free radical damage and inflammation as well. In our joints, free radicals destroy and damage the cartilage. And in fact, most diseases are caused by a combination of those two things, free radical damage and inflammation in the body. So we can protect the body from further damage, and we can help its repair. Now, that's actually very important, to be able to help its repair. And my grandson somehow heard about Proflavanol. Maybe I was talking to his mother, and he said, that's Bob the Builder, isn't it? He can fix anything. And in a way, I'd like you to think of Proflavanol like that. It's a great alternative to more toxic medication for inflammation. So you can use it in arthritis and all that of things. Now, USANA uses a lot of vitamin C combined with other things, and they also have a product called Poly-C. Now, poly means many, and what USANA has done is combined 4 different minerals with vitamin C so that we get a much longer action, because human beings, we can't store vitamin C and we can't make it. And if you normally take a vitamin C tablet, get a sharp rise like that and a fall, but that isn't very good, because we want that protection for a longer period of time. So by using these minerals combined with vitamin C, they're all absorbed at different speeds, and we get a much longer action like that. Now, that comes into play with a number of the different products. Now, just remember that most animals can make vitamin C. When they suddenly get stressed, they just make a whole lot more, and that protects their bodies. But we, as human beings, we've lost that ability to make vitamin C. We also can't store it. So if you haven't eaten a fresh orange right off the tree right now, then you probably haven't got any vitamin C circulating. So we have to get it from what we eat. And if we're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, tree ripened, then we will find that we are deficient. And stress and toxins can more easily damage our bodies. And our immune system can suffer. Our energy can suffer. Our hormones can suffer. And so can our skin, because collagen, which is the structure that holds most of our body tissues together, is a lot weaker. And we've got collagen in our muscles and our skin, teeth, bones, blood, really important. And of course, we know that a lack of vitamin C causes scurvy. Many of us aren't that bad, but a lot of us show these deficiencies. If you want to look your best, vitamin C is important. Coquinone. This is USANA's product that combines coenzyme Q10 and lipoic acid. Now, this helps to increase the energy output of our cells. It's very important because this naturally falls with age. And coenzyme Q10 is a very potent antioxidant, and it also helps to deal with free radicals that are created in the process of burning energy in the body. It's especially important for good heart function and muscle function. As we get older, it naturally falls, and if we're stressed, it falls. If we have illnesses like heart failure or multiple sclerosis or any of those tiredness states, it falls. One group of drugs that's really important to be aware of is the drugs that we use to lower cholesterol. These are the statin group of drugs, and they knock the coenzyme Q10. So when you're taking these drugs, it's very important to have a supplement of coenzyme Q10 for the body. Now, it's very difficult to get coenzyme Q10 into the body, and there are lots of cheap and really quite useless products on the market. If coenzyme Q10 is cheap, I can tell you it doesn't work. And because this form is so well absorbed, USANA does something else that make it even better for us. They combine it with lipoic acid. Now, lipoic acid helps to recycle the expensive coenzyme Q10 so it's not destroyed. So that gives us an even greater level in the body. Personally, I would always recommend people use the Coquinone 100. It's only a fraction more expensive than the smaller one, so it's much better value for your money. A product that I find very useful is Procosamine. This is a product combining glucosamine, vitamin C again, manganese, and turmeric. Turmeric is that Indian spice, the yellow one that you often get in curries. And one of the problems in our world is that we often stress our joints and our cartilage because of the way we use our bodies. And we do stupid things to our bodies, and we tend to destroy our cartilage faster than we can actually repair it. And this combination that USANA has put in the Procosamine hasten the regrowth of cartilage, and it also helps to create more of that fluid inside the joints that lubricates the joints, that makes the bones move more easily on each other. Helps to reduce pain as well. And interestingly, drug companies noticed that. And so a COX-2 inhibitor is a whole group of drugs that have been made from turmeric. And personally, it's much better to use turmeric. It's much safer. And in fact, even what they've discovered is the COX-2 inhibitor drugs like Mobec and Vioxx are really not terribly safe. So most of them have been withdrawn. Much better to go to the natural product. Turmeric is a really great thing for inflammation, helps with pain. Now we go on to a couple of products that are hormonal in their effect. Palmetto Plus combines two things, the herb saw palmetto, which has been used by the Chinese for many centuries, and lycopene. Now, lycopene comes from cooked tomatoes, and also we have soy isoflavones in there. Now, they know and have known for many years that saw palmetto slows the enlargement of the prostate gland that now happens with age. So really important for men from sort of midlife. The prostate gland, of course, is at the base of the bladder there. So when men get to about 40, 45, it's a good idea to slow that enlargement because that's what the saw palmetto does. And lycopene is one of the few things where there have been really good studies that show that lycopene can reduce the risk of developing prostate cancer, which is the biggest cancer and the fear many men have. They don't want to get prostate cancer because it's a nasty one. Now, women haven't been forgotten, and Vital has been developed to help women with hormonal problems that they have. Now, the interesting thing is when you look at Asian women, they have many less hormonal issues than women in other parts of the world, and that's largely due to their diet, which is very high in things like the soy isoflavones. And Vital combines a number of 4 different weak plant estrogens that these sit on the receptor of the cell there, and they have just a very weak effect on the body, and they prevent the really dangerous, bad estrogens that are now flooding our world from affecting the body of the woman. And we call those bad estrogens the xenoestrogens, and we get them in things like chicken and many of the things we use on our skin. Lots of the chemicals that we use in our house cause those sort of bad estrogens. So Vital blocks some of those. And many women are looking for a more natural approach to looking after their hormones. And when they use Vital and combine it with regular exercise and watch their diet and take supplements, they have a much better time as younger women with those menopausal and older women with their menopausal problems, because hormonal problems are affecting all women right from teenagers. You look at the acne and all the period problems that women have, and then right through to menopause. And it makes a very big difference. The other thing that Vital does, it helps to keep the bones strong, and that's very important. Vision X is an interesting product because it's a real preventer product. And It includes a number of different pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin, again some vitamin C, bilberry, which lots of people know is good for eyes, and also zinc. Now, the eye gets damaged by ultraviolet light. With the pollution we have, we're getting more ultraviolet light coming through the lens, and it's damaging the lens of the eye. And we're seeing many more people with cataracts. The other thing that happens is that light falls on the back of the eye there, which is the part we see with, and it damages the pigment at the back of the eye. It damages that layer that is protective, that it's a thin layer of brown pigment there. And what Vision X does, first of all, it mops up free radicals that are causing some of that damage, and bilberry helps there. But then those two pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin, replace the pigment that's been destroyed by the ultraviolet. So some people say it's a bit like having internal sunglasses in the back of your eye, protecting that seeing part of the eye. The other thing that bilberry does is it improves the circulation to the eye. So it's something I really like to take myself, and I encourage people, when they've had the products that they really need, perhaps when they develop a little bit more income, it's a good product to add in as a preventer. Ginkgo is another good preventer product. And Ginkgo PS is USANA's version of two very potent vasodilators, Ginkgo biloba. For years, many centuries, in fact, the Chinese have used this as a vasodilator for the brain. And phosphatidylserine is another one that opens up the circulation to the brain and to the rest of the body too. So it can be very useful when our circulation is impaired. And we see this particularly in things like diabetes and other conditions where the circulation to the legs, to the kidneys isn't so good, and of course to the brain. Where we have poor brain function and the memory isn't so good, it can be used there. It really does help with that. So it's something I like to use a lot, especially in people who have diabetes. And it's also a product that is very useful as we age to help maintain the memory. And Alzheimer's is a scary condition, and if we can prevent it, it's much better. So that's pretty well the end of the Optimizer range. Now we want to talk very briefly about the foods. These are drinks and bars to enable people to have better and balanced nutrition choices. And you can look at these a little bit more yourselves. There are a number of different flavor options. There are gluten-free forms. There's a protein powder that a lot of athletes like to add as well. And I personally love to use these while I'm traveling. I find it really handy to use one of these shakes pictured in the top picture there for breakfast, because I'm nearly always in a bit of a rush around breakfast time, and there's often not time to sit down and eat a really good quality breakfast with protein and so on. I also like to use them before exercise because it's really important that we do that, and then it gives us the ability to exercise better and not to damage our bodies. They've been designed to keep the blood sugar stable. A lot of food shoots the blood sugar up too high, and it's really not a good thing. And because of that, of course, these are really useful for people with diabetes. There is a whole program that connected around these macro optimizers to help with it's called the RESET program. Now, the RESET program has a number of phases. The first phase is shown in that top picture. It's a 5-day program which resets the metabolism. And the shakes and the bars are all low glycemic, and they're high in fiber, and they've got the right sorts of fats. And it stabilizes the body so that you can go on and do a program that will help with weight loss, but without any starvation. One of my favorite products, and those of you who've heard me before will know this, is Fibergy, Fibergy Plus. Now, it comes in a green bag, and anything with that green sort of color is to do with the gut. And Fibergy Plus contains fiber, soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. And this is really important to help the body detoxify, and it also helps the gut to stay healthy. The soluble fiber grabs onto toxins and it helps us eliminate them when the liver has thrown them out. My experience is it also helps to reduce things like cholesterol and uric acid. That is one of the causes of gout, of course. Because it's low glycemic, it helps to control those sugar cravings people have. And so increasing fiber in our diet is actually really important because a lot of the processing we do removes the fiber. Fiber-G is gluten-free. It's got no added sugar, no flavorings. In fact, it's really got a nothing taste. So you won't particularly like it, but it isn't unpleasant. But it's really important because it's actually a prebiotic. Now, what does that mean? A prebiotic creates the environment in the gut where the good bacteria that break down our food so that we can absorb it, where they live, and it helps those good bacteria thrive, and it can help the bowel to heal. Now, so I call this product the sort of fertilizer for the gut, really. But many, many chronic health conditions of all sorts cause bowel problems, and many people aren't aware of this. So I believe Fiber-G is really important if a person is unwell, because we all need to help our bodies get rid of those toxins. And when we do, the whole body is going to work better. And it doesn't matter what the condition is, it will start to win. Another product with that green coloring is Probiotic Plus. Now, people know about probiotics these days. They know that when we get stressed, when we're ill, diets, toxins, all damage the good bacteria, those tiny, tiny bacteria that enable us to digest our food properly. And when you talk to people, many people have gut problems. They say that they have a lot of gas and bloating. And when our gut isn't working right, our immune system suffers. We get more inflammation. So if we can help our gut work properly, we'll absorb food better as well. We'll even absorb our supplements better. And what probiotic does is it restores the good bacteria, which many things in life destroy. And it's a number of different good forms of stable bacteria. And I just add again that Fiber-G acts as a fertilizer. It's a prebiotic, which creates the environment for the probiotic bacteria to grow and to thrive. Energy drinks. Oh, how I hate energy drinks generally because they cause so many problems for people. They cause tiredness, people fall asleep driving, and they sort of set up a roller coaster of needing something else to wake you up, and we go from feeling we need to be energized to then we can't sleep. Life is very, very difficult and stressful for many people. What USANA has done is made a healthy energy drink. Mixes with hot or cold water. If you use the stick there, it's a powder. Can, of course, is slightly different. It's a lot of young people like the can, but if you ask me, I prefer the sticks. I think it's a much better product. It increases energy gently for about 6 or so hours. Don't get a crash afterwards. And it increases the energy with caffeine and malate. There's only 10 calories and 2 grams of sugar per serve, so it's not going to upset the blood sugar at all. It's got green tea, ginseng, rhodiola. Those things help the body cope with stress better, so you can think better. You get more clarity, more focus, more positivity. And it's not just for athletes, therefore. It's great for anybody like drivers, shift workers, people who are tired or unwell, mothers who get very stressed. They've got babies and kids that are sort of always demanding attention, and mothers get very tired. Teenagers, when they're trying to study. I wouldn't give it to children, but teenagers, yes, really important, and hopefully you can get them off some of those really, really dangerous energy drinks. It can be mixed into a smoothie with banana and yogurt and berries and things like that. Generally speaking, I don't think you should take it after about 2 or mid-afternoon, because if you want to go to bed at 9 or 10 or something, you might find that you're still feeling quite perky. But a really useful, healthy energy drink and a great tool that you can share with people in an inexpensive way, and they'll notice a difference straight. USANA makes a combined pack. It's called a Health Pack 100. It's easy to use. It's 2 little sachets, one for morning, one for evening, with a combination inside. And it's got the basic nutrients of the essentials, some calcium and magnesium, and some of the grapeseed extract and olive oil. It's great to sample. It's also great for travel. You don't need to have all those bottles. The AO Booster, this is the only product that contains the AO Booster. This is a potent free radical scavenger, and it combines rosemary and resveratrol, which is Japanese knotweed, with alpha lipoic acid again, which recycles those expensive antioxidants. So it's a really neat product. I love Health Pack 100. I use it all the time. It is also a full 100 point for people who are on 100 point auto ship on a monthly order. Not too much time to talk about Sensei, but it's a high quality, beautiful range of skincare. And I always ask the question, why do most of us smother our own skin and that of our children with toxic preservatives and poisons, parabens, sodium lauryl sulfate, lots of things that are hormone disruptors? What Sensei does is it uses self-preserving formulas, crystal technology, that they've patented the technology, but it actually is very active on the skin. It reduces lines, wrinkles, dryness, all the things that both men and women want to do. It contains regenosomes to help repair those damaged cells, and it contains a lot of the things we've already talked about, proflavanol T, protease C, lots of plant products so that we can protect our skin from aging. It's an active range. My beautician friends tell me it really does help in women maintain and men not to age. So they have a basic skincare range, night creams, day cream, masks and scrubs, and have a very important hair and body pack, which contains shower gel, shampoo, conditioner. There's a firming body nourisher, which is beautiful, and also a hand therapy too. Now, this has all been designed with none of those hormonal disruptors that are so worrying today. They have a natural whitening toothpaste. Again, you can swallow this toothpaste. Other toothpastes you have to spit out, but this is safe. They have a range that helps reduce the blemishes on skin. A lot of people think it's just for Asian skin who want to be whiter, but it actually tones and reduces those dark spots that people get with age. Great product. So in summary, what do most of us need? Well, it's like the pantry. Always, everybody needs the appropriate essentials for their age. And everybody needs a fish oil, either the children's one or the adult one. Most of us also need some calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, and some fiber G for the for the bowel. Personally, I would love to have all those as my first 4 essential things. Skin and body care, I also think is important, and also vitamin D. Can't have too much vitamin D. If we have problems, then we've got things that will fix it. There's that proflavanol, the grapeseed extract with vitamin C, procosамine for our joints, coquinone, Rev3 for more energy. We can improve our liver and HEPA+, Poly C when we need extra vitamin C. If we're over 35, then we may need some hormonal help, either Palmetto if we're a man or Phytal if we're a lady. We may want a bit of extra protection. Maybe we've got family history or something. And we can protect our eyes. E-Prime gives us more protection for the heart. Ginkgo for our brains and our memory. Sometimes people need to detox, and I personally think it's a good idea to detox 2 or 3 times a year. People can lose some weight with the Nutrimills and the Reset if they want to. When we remember that our cells will suddenly start to function better, and that improvement will go on. It might take 2, 3, sometimes 4 months to get to where we can finally be. Our health will gradually improve. Some people find it happens really quickly, but other things take a little bit longer. Our energy will improve, our mental and general well-being, so that we can really enjoy life to the fullest and well into old age. We may be able to reduce some of our medications, and as we have more energy, then we can get that life back into balance, better balance. It's very, very good. And I love using supplements for children with special needs. This is one of the little children I'm working with in Malaysia. We saw huge improvements with her health when we use this sort of combination. But basically all of us, whether we're children, whether we're adults, whether we're old and we want to be really active when we're old, it's really important for all of us. And the slide I like best is this picture. Now, this lady is well over 100, but look at her. She loves life. She's got all her marbles, we say. Her mental function is brilliant, and her body is brilliant. And many of these old people who come from countries like Japan, Okinawa, and places like that, they are still active. They're gardening. They're doing all sorts of things when they're 100 years old. I want to be really active until my time is done. And thanks to you, Sana, I believe we can. So that, my dear friends, is the end of our talk. And I don't know whether we've got any time for questions. I probably need some help with this. This is wonderful new technology.
Hi, Monica, it's Paula here. Thank you. That was amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm sure everyone absolutely loved it. If you want to stay on for maybe another 5 minutes or so, it might be easier rather than opening up the lines. If people just want to type in some questions, can you see down in the chat box there? Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone wants to ask Monica some questions, try and make them sort of general so that they can be of value to everyone. If you just type in the chat box down the bottom there, rather than opening up the mics, it's just if we open it up with such a large group, there'll be some very big feedback. It's all very quiet. Okay. They are stunned.
Maybe I put them all to sleep.
No, you didn't at all, Monica. I was sitting here. I've been doing this business for 8 years, and I was sitting here going, wow, I didn't even know that. It was just fantastic. So it looks like everyone's really happy with everything they've heard, which is awesome. So thank you so much, Monica. We will definitely be doing more of these product trainings online. It's such a great way for us all to build our knowledge. So I appreciate it so much. It's fantastic. So thank you.
Well, that's a pleasure. And take the information, use it for yourselves, share it with people you know, and together we can achieve more. I'm absolutely passionate. There are so many people out there who need this knowledge. So thank you very much, everybody. If nobody's got a burning question, I shall watch you all click off and stay here just to make sure that nobody's got something that they want to bring up.
The organizer has ended the session and this call will be disconnected. Goodbye.